Good evening, Vancouver, and welcome back to Canucks After Dark, Monday, May 2nd, the first show of May of this year. It is springtime. It is NHL playoffs time. Clay, my co-host, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Parker. Speaking of springtime, my spring softball league started today.
Oh,
Yes, and my
I
very
heard
first
you.
hit in three.
Yeah,
I had
I
a
heard you hit
three-run
a
dinger.
little dinger. Nice. Love to
But
hear
what I
it.
didn't tweet, Parker, I'm also the only person on our team that struck out too.
Hey, you know what? Yeah, that's a pretty good. That's a pretty good ratio. I'd take that. Three
yeah,
RBIs for a strikeout.
yeah. Without getting the whole song dance, you pitch to your own. It's four pitch. You pitch to your own team, and let's
Mm.
just say I got a pitcher that I was pretty mad at by the end.
That does make the strikeout worse. I will
It
say
does.
that.
Yes, young guy.
Um,
How are you? How are you, by the way?
I'm great. I'm
Good.
a little tired, but that's
Hmm.
okay. It's springtime. Looks
Yeah.
like we've got one more week of rain, and then we'll have, probably a week of sun, and then more rain again, and that's just how life
Yeah.
is here. But
It is.
it's almost golf season, especially
Yeah.
if you're the Vancouver Canucks,
Yeah.
and the Vegas Golden Knights, and
Yeah.
other teams of that echelon.
Yeah.
But no, it's things are going well. So
Good.
for tonight's show, our plan for all of you in attendance here, we'll talk about the Canucks for a bit, and then we'll talk about the playoffs for a bit, and we'll see what happens. I think
That
that's
sounds
sort of our
good. That
plan.
sounds good.
We'll start with the Canucks because this is Canucks After Dark. It is dark outside. I can
Yeah.
confirm we're good. Um, and although when we're doing this in August, it won't be. We
It'll be weird.
it'll be really close. So where do you want to start? Do you want to
Well, I
just
guess,
start?
yeah, they played a couple games, I guess, since our last show to
They played
wind
a
up their
couple
season.
games. I didn't make banners for them, just the two, right? We did the show after the Tuesday one, if I'm not mistaken, or was it?
Correct.
Yeah. So they beat the Kings
Yeah.
3-2 in overtime. They lost to
Yeah.
the Oilers 3-2 in a shootout. And they didn't get Miller's 100 points. They didn't
Yeah.
get Boudreau's 600th win.
Wow.
Nothing. They didn't get Pedersen up to 70.
Boo.
Nothing good happened, but it was a fun game. Do you want to
Yeah,
go
they
like
keep
how in depth do you want to go in these games? Because at this point,
not.
I'm almost of the mind that like, well, they don't matter
They don't.
anymore, right? There were some fun storylines, right? We were going to that last one hoping Miller could get the 2 points, and he got the
Yeah.
one. Although Boudreau
Yeah.
played him for 25 minutes, which is excellent, and he was out there every other shift in overtime. Got so close on that backdoor pass from Quinn Hughes, but
Yeah.
it was a good night.
Yeah, I think we don't have to go there in depth. Just a couple of performances. So on the Thursday night, the last home game where they did fan appreciation night, all those kind of things. It was Boeser and PD who had 2 point nights each, so that was good. That was good. And overall, a decent. Did you make it out to that game, Parker? I can't remember.
No.
Okay, so I'd say a decent vibe in the stands because I think obviously fans were disappointed that we didn't make the playoffs, but they also recognize how good the Canucks were for the later 2/3 of the season under Boudreau. So I think overall, not perfect, but overall, it was a good atmosphere in the arena, obviously punctuated with the Canucks win.
Yeah, a good one. That was their last home game of the
Yeah.
year. Nice to end that on a win. And they travel back-to-back nights in Edmonton.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to touch on one thing because last
Sure.
week, um, no, wait, we did the show on Monday last week. It wasn't Tuesday. So that
So we
Kraken
have
game,
three.
that Kraken game was involved. The Canucks won 5-2. And I remember
Yeah.
that because I said they should play Spencer Martin in all three games.
You
Now,
did.
I had an idea that Demko wasn't 100%. Like, I think most
Mhm.
of us, we could sort of pick out on that. And I said, well, why wouldn't you just play Martin the rest of the way? And they did. And so I feel very good about myself for that. I
Good
will take
call.
my praise. Um,
Absolutely.
but yeah, no, it was and he was fantastic in all three of these games.
Yeah.
Let's in 2 goals against Seattle. Let's in 2 goals from LA. Let's in 2 goals from Edmonton, and then one in like the 6th round of the shooter or something, 5th round,
Yep.
somewhere like that.
Yeah.
And I think he ends the season. What was he at? Like a 950, something
Yeah.
really, really dumb.
And Parker in 6 games, he didn't lose once in regulation. He went 3-0-3.
Yeah, he pulled 9 points out of 6 games.
Wow.
Which I mean, you get him to play the whole season.
Yeah.
82 times
Yes.
1.5, 123 points. Why would you ever play Demko again, right?
Yeah, exactly. What a steal.
Yeah.
By the way, we should acknowledge Sager's Rage,
Hmm.
$5 donation. Thank you. Don't let ownership off the hook. They wanted to expedite the rebuild in the NHL playoffs. 4 100-point teams will be out in the first round. Yeah, well, we haven't even got to letting them off the hook. We will talk about them very quickly, when we talk about what other press conference there are. But no, we have time to talk about that a little bit later for sure. Thank you for that. Thank you, more importantly.
I've always been
Yeah.
one to say that Francesco can do no wrong. He is the god of the
Perfect.
Vancouver Canucks, and he is all knowing. No, I mean, I mean, just to sort of go on this tangent. I don't think we've ever really let ownership off the hook. I think we've, or at least I've been of the mind that Jim Benning was probably here 4 to 5 years past his welcome. And that falls on ownership. And yeah, they've always been pushing for wanting to be a playoff team. They want those 3 games of revenue. And it didn't work. It backfired on them. And no, I mean, I think we've talked about it over the last little while of, do you really want to just make the playoffs? Because over the Boudreau run, they're 12th in the NHL over that same period of time. That's not a team that's winning the Stanley Cup, right? That's the Minnesota Wild, right?
Yeah.
Or the St. Louis Blues. One of those teams isn't winning the cup this year, probably. So yeah, I think I don't think that's an issue with us.
But I do like the point though. And Parker, do you put any stock? I know we can go all over the place tonight because really there's no more Canucks teams to talk about after. Do you put any stock in the fact that the Canucks declined on their volition to have those games that were going to be half capacity because they wanted to wait for full, but in essence stalled their own momentum? So there's a thought that says they kind of shot themselves in the foot. That's maybe 4 points they could have used if they hadn't, moved the games. We don't know if they would have won, lost, blah, blah, blah. Or do you think that was a smart move because they wanted, you can't blame them for after taking a dive the last, a dip in the last 2 years that they wanted to maximize their revenue. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, most teams would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. I think we'd be like, oh, they got greedy because they wanted an extra, basically 18,000 tickets to sell.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. That's over $1 million,
Mm-hmm.
right? If we're talking $50 a ticket, that's $1 million for 20,000 tickets. Plus, people paying $15 for a beer or, $8 for a slice of pizza or whatever you're buying. The average person who goes out is probably spending $100, right? So maybe it's $2 million, right? I can see why an owner would say, oh, well, we have good information that this half capacity thing's not going to make it to the end of the year. Well, yeah, let's just push these games. The NHL is going to be like, oh yeah, you guys want more money? We like money. Let's push it as well. Right. Like, it's not surprising it happened. And we can look at it from the hockey perspective. Like, man, it wasn't what sunk the team. The first 27 games of the season is what sunk the team. Right.
Yeah.
And I think, you can go back and you can pick out any 3 games from the season, but then you get down this rabbit hole of like, okay, well, yeah, maybe they do win one of those games against Ottawa, but then maybe they lose a game against Colorado. And then it's like, it's maybe they do play those 2 games. Maybe someone gets hurt and maybe that didn't happen because of this, right? Like it's such a rabbit hole that it's just a butterfly effect that you don't really know where it goes. But
I love your point about the fact that we finished with 92 points. But yeah, it's very easy to say, oh, on that 7-game homestand, we should have not lost to Detroit and Buffalo. But you could say, oh, in the first 25 games, we probably shouldn't have lost this game or that game. So we know the cliche, they all matter the same. October, April. It just obviously there's recency bias, and those are teams, the way they were playing, you thought they should have won. That's unfortunate. But yeah, they all count the same.
Yep, they sure do. All right, so those are the 3 games we touched on.
That was quickly. Fast.
So they end the season 40, 30, 12. So 15 regulation losses in the last, was that 55 games?
57 games. Yeah.
57. It was 25, 57. Yeah, that's pretty good. Lots of OT losses, 10 of them. You think maybe, hey, there's a place they could have stolen a couple of those points back. If you want to go down that rabbit hole again, but All in all, I mean, I think, we talked about this a lot last week. They finished in a spot way higher than we expected them to. Killed their draft odds, but I think it was. I mean, I couldn't have done it. I couldn't have done another 5 months, and then because it's the dread looking ahead. Right now, we have this glimmer of hope that next year might be fun. If this team finished 29th in the standings, we would have been like, okay, well, what are they going to do going into next year? Because it's not going to be good. It was a fun finish, and it makes the future look at least a little bit more reasonable.
Yeah, all really good points. Because if we know that Travis Green went 8-15-2, that means Boeser, he's another BB. Boudreau went 32-15-10. That is 17 games over 500. So if you just say 17 games over 500, you do the math, that's 99 points if you finish 17 games over 500. But if you extrapolate Boudreau's 57 games over 82, I have it right here, it's actually 105 points. So regardless if you say 99 or 97 or 105, that's a playoff team. That's kind of what you hinted at. And that's why there is optimism for next year. That's why people are saying you got to bring this guy back, give him a full training camp and a full preseason and see what happens. And he sounded very excited talking about it today as well, that he wants to be back and he thinks the team wants him back. So as you've said, it's a good PR move. It would be more of a disaster if we didn't. So a lot of things to consider for sure.
You said that was 105 points?
Yeah.
Which sounds great. That sounds like an excellent team.
Uh-oh.
That would put them in 11th in the NHL. Just about
what?
Edmonton.
They were 10?
Yeah, I mean, Edmonton had 104, and they
Wow.
were 11th. Boston had 107, St. Louis 109, Tampa Bay 110, Rangers 110, Flames 111, Wild had 113, Maple Leafs 115, Hurricanes 116, Colorado 119, Florida 122.
So as good as they were, it's good for 11th overall.
Yeah, because there's a lot of teams that were like, there was a few teams that were really bad that were sort of subsidizing the rest of the league on points, right? You have Montreal who won 22 games, Arizona won 25, right? There were some teams that were really bad this year, and the ones at the top, they did really well. And there's the whole Eastern Conference thing, right? Where there was the big separation in the Eastern Conference. There was the four teams in each division and the next four in each division, right? So that inflated the point totals of them, but I mean, even if you just focus on the West, 105 points would put them in fifth, right? Behind St. Louis, Calgary, Minnesota, Colorado. So that's a middling playoff team. Fifth, you don't get home ice advantage if it's a 1 through 8. Right. So you're probably losing in the first round because you're probably against a team that did slightly better than you. You probably lose that 60% of the time. That's not the goal, right? The goal should be to end up, in that top 2 in the conference. So you're like an actual contender, right? You want to be competing with the Colorados and Toronto and Florida, not, fighting your way against Edmonton, because that's probably not going to go all that well for you.
Yeah. And isn't it the most Canucks thing, Parker, that because we finished 18th, right? There's 16 playoff teams, then Vegas, then us. We finished 18th overall. That us in Vegas, we have the lowest draft lottery odds at 0.5%.
And that's only to move up 10, right? That's not even to go to 1.
Yes, correct.
So
we can get up to
we had our draft lottery fun. You know what? Let's run it.
Let's run it.
Let's take one spin. One spin. So yeah, the Canucks 0.5% chance they'd move up, I guess, from 15th to 5th or 6th, would it be?
5th, yeah.
You'd think 5th. Sim lottery. So. The Canucks stayed at 15th.
Awesome. Who got first?
I don't know. I'm still spinning it.
Oh.
8, 9, 10. We might be here a while. I don't think. Oh. All right, the Canucks moved up 9 spots in my 12th spin to 6th overall.
Okay. All right.
So it's not, the odds aren't great.
Not great.
All right, do you want to talk about exit interviews? Because that was sort of the main thing that happened with the Canucks over the last few days.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I'll just kind of set this table here. But before we do that, Lucas, thank you for the $5 donation. Canucks After Dark with no Canucks games until the fall, no problem. I like that attitude, Lucas. I think
no problem for you guys. You don't have to think of stuff for now. We're fine.
Parker, you have the gift of gab. I have the good looks. No, I think I got it backwards. But regardless, we will figure we figured out. Okay, really quickly, because I think everyone, and I love your take on it too, Parker, because I haven't heard it yet, actually. The Canucks did their player exit interviews, 3 groups. The first group was Bo, Chason, Ekman Larson, and Miller. All fine, all good. Then the second group was Boeser, Petey, Hughes, and Garland. Ben Kuzma, longtime writer for the province, goes first and asks Brock about his season. Brock hints in his first answer that there were some off-ice personal issues that he was dealing with that made it rough. Fair. He was already, you can tell he was emotional. Number 2 question from Kuzma was a hockey-related question, complimenting Brock on how well he handles things, and then how that he had a decent season, especially since Boudreau took over. In Brock's second answer, he paused, and you could tell he was welling up inside. And then he says, "Just give me a minute." And Kuzma said, "That's fine, thanks." And then it was good. Then Kuzma's third question then talked not about Boeser's hockey ability, but his resolve and his strength in dealing with stuff. And then you could tell where it was going. And then Kuzma, with his fourth question, said, "How's your dad doing?" He actually said, "I'm not sure if this is fair to ask, but how's your dad doing?" Boeser pauses. He breaks down. Quinn Hughes, showing some beautiful leadership and care, says, "Next question." And Brock actually says, "No, I can answer this." And he says that his dad's suffering, diminishing, dealing with dementia now as part of his Parkinson's. And basically, after a couple more sentences, he stopped. Thomas Drance then fires a question at Quinn Hughes. Then you see Boeser leave behind Hughes. Hughes answers. Drance asks Petey a question. Petey starts to answer, gets emotional, and says, "Oh, F it." And it goes back to Quinn Hughes, and then it gets to Connor Garland. So basically, the whole, and I'll wrap this up real quick. The whole thing was, a lot of people thought that Kuzma was out of line. That's a personal question. Why are you going there? Others defending Kuzma, saying, no, he showed compassion in the way he asked it. It was actually a classy way to ask it. And Brock seemed to open up the door. That he didn't brush it. He was the one who brought up personal issues. Now, that doesn't mean you have to ask about it. So that was kind of the debate. I think a lot of media were defending Kuzma, or at least saying that wasn't out of line. A lot of people were saying that was kind of too personal, not the right place. I said right away that I thought his question came from a good place, but maybe it wasn't the right place, i.e. wait till later in the presser once all the players have had a chance to talk, or Brock's talked more. So, Parker, I know you knew all that already, but what was your reaction when you saw the storm on Twitter and social media?
So I didn't watch the clip because it seemed sad, and I didn't want to watch it at the time. So I I saw lots of the discourse and things along those lines, and based on the way you've explained it, to me it seems like a fair question to ask, especially if you have some rapport there. Now, I don't know what their relationship's like, but I feel like, if you sort of have, maybe talked to him about it in the past, and it's something he's willing to be open about, or things along those lines, then I get why you'd ask it, even just from like a human perspective, not because he's trying to get a story. Because I don't know. I don't like what it like. It's not going to benefit Kuzma all that much, right?
Right.
So I think, that was sort of my initial reaction. Like, it's probably fine. And then I saw other people saying, well, why not wait till you have like a one-on-one or something along those lines, not live, not in front of everyone. And I kind of get that too. Again, I can't get into the mind of either of them. So I don't, I don't really have a strong take on this. I saw that he said it was fine or something earlier today, or maybe his agent did or something like that. And you know what? That's all I care about. If Brock after that was like, I can't believe you brought that up at this time or whatever, then I'd be on his side. If he says, no, that was fine, it was something I was wanting to talk about, and I'm happy to get off my chest, then it's fine. I don't think I don't think we need to really defer to anyone other than Brock himself, because that just makes the most sense to me.
Well said. No, that's really good, and it's cool that we always talk about a lot of things, but that's one thing that we hadn't talked about before the show. So I was really happy to hear your perspective. I know a lot of people in the chat, they're leaning towards where they call it anti-Kuzma, or they don't think that it was the best thing. But I And maybe it's my nature, Parker. I give people the benefit of the doubt. I really think that Kuzma was coming from a good place, and I think he kind of knew where he was going, and he wanted to give Brock a chance to express himself. And I actually think, in a weird sort of way, Kuzma kind of knew that PD and Hughes, as probably his two best friends on the team, were going to have his back. So I'm not saying it's intentional, but I've had a night to sleep on it. I don't think it's as bad as it was. But more importantly, or just as importantly, I love what we saw from PD and from Hughes, the care they showed for their teammate, the way they had his back. And that, to me, that spoke volumes too. So yes, it made for good vlogs and people on social media and good stories on Donnie and Dolly and everything. But maybe we're forgetting about this in a couple days. But it was certainly captured the attention of Canucks fans yesterday for sure.
Yeah. The other exit interview that I think stood out, that at least got some play online, was Horvat, the captain. I know he had some comments about basically saying, to summarize, I don't have it in front of me, but he was like, it sucks that we're doing this again. We're here at the beginning of May or whatever it is. It's my 8th year or 7th year, whatever it's been. And he's like, it sucks that instead of prepping for a playoff game, we're doing this, right? We're talking to you guys about this season and what we can do next year to fix it and what's going to be different and this and this and this, which is totally fair. That's how I feel too. But and then he goes on to say basically like, I want to win here, I mean, I wouldn't blame him if he was like, I can't deal with this anymore, right? I mean, it's his whole prime that he's basically been here now, right? Like he's got, he's a good top 6, maybe top 3 on a bad team forward.
Yeah.
A very solid player, a leader on the team, and he just hasn't had the supporting cast to back it up. And they haven't done anything. So I think it's fair to be in a spot of frustration. But I mean, I think we're all frustrated at this point. But what did you think of his comments?
Yeah, well, good question, because he's the captain, Parker, and he's played 8 years now. Can you believe it? He's did 3 his ELC, and then he's done 5 of his next 6-year contract. So an 8-year veteran drafted way back in 2013. Remember, that was the day we traded Corey Schneider for the rights to the 9th overall pick, which turned out to be Horvat. So he got drafted 9 years ago. That's insane to me. But yeah, you're right. We could probably play back his press conferences from previous exit interviews, previous years, and he's saying the exact same thing. He wants to win here. He's entering the prime. You got a lot of young core players here. We're good in the room, and we're one step away. But not only imagine if fans are tired of hearing that. Imagine how the players. That's kind of what you're alluding to. Imagine how tired the players are of saying it. So I like his comments. I want Horvat to be even more. Doesn't have to be JT Miller honest, but I do want him to be more forthcoming, less cliched, less nuanced in the interviews. And I thought that was a good one.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we're talking about a guy who is going to play his 600th NHL game next year.
And 1 playoff series, right? Oh no, 2. Sorry, 2 since then.
Yeah, so he's played 572 NHL games, right? You look at other guys who might be like, not comparables, but also like, I was just like, who's another captain that's a center that's kind of aging out? My mind went to Getzlaf, right? Ryan Getzlaf is done. He's hanging him up. He played 1,157 games. So that puts Horvat almost. That's really close. Hold on. Let me pull the calculator out. 572 times 2. 1144 to 1150. So basically exactly double what Horvat's played so far. So, wow. I mean, it's not that crazy. And keep in mind, Getzlaf's a better player than Horvat. At least at this point, he was for sure. It's not that crazy unreasonable to say that, like, we've seen half of Bo Horvat's career, right?
Yep.
For a player to play 1,000, 1,100, 1,200 games, right? I mean, how many games did Henrik Sedin play? Like,
it's funny. And I just looked up Bergeron while you looked up Getzlaf. I looked up Bergeron. To me, that's another center who's going to age out soon. 1,200 games for Bergeron.
Yeah, Henrik Sedin played 1,330. So again, 2.2 ish times. Yeah. He's played half of his career and he's played a couple playoff rounds. right? Like
Yes.
3
Yes.
playoff series.
Yep.
That's not, that's not fun. It's for a player who wants to, who's shown his skill in the playoffs, especially.
Yeah.
I don't see how anyone could twist those words in a negative way. Because yeah, I'd be in the exact same boat.
Yes. By the way, I not to keep going back to it, Parker, but I did want to ask you, and I can't remember. I think you were very fair to Besser during the season about his play, his streakiness. So I'm not even asking you to justify giving him a pass or whatever, but it certainly makes it understandable why he had an up and down year, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, it was
Yeah.
clear that also physically, I don't think he was 100% still either.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I Besser's always been a streakier player.
Yep.
He goes on these runs where he's excellent, and sometimes he's not playing great. But people are so, especially on in YouTube comments, so overreactionary, being like, oh, Besser's useless, he's not scoring goals, that's all he does, because he showed, as a young player, he's very good at
Yep.
scoring goals, so everyone's been like, okay, your job is goal scorer, that is all you do, you don't score goals, you are useless. And you watch him play, and it's like, yeah, he doesn't have great foot speed, right? He's
Yeah.
not a fast skater, um, but he is a very, very smart player. Like, he's always in the
Mm.
right spot. He always makes the right play, even if it doesn't work. Sometimes his shot's not there. And there's a lot of people who will look at that and say, okay, Brock Besser scores whatever. He only scores 25 goals. That's
Yep.
not enough, right? His job is to be a 40 goal scorer. He had 23 goals this year, right? And
Yeah.
we can say, yeah, that's not enough. Like, it should be higher.
Yeah.
But just because, he's struggling to put the puck in the back of the net doesn't mean he's absolutely useless and they should get rid of him while they can. If anything, it means that maybe this next contract value might be a little bit lower, and it gives you a chance to buy low on a player who is, still 25 years old and
Yeah.
has, another 800 games ahead of him. A lot of juice left. As long as his wrists stay healthy, basically.
Yeah. It's really. I know you didn't do this on purpose, but it's fascinating that you mentioned Besser not physically healthy, and then you ended up with talking about his wrist, because the one thing I wanted to bring up and get your reaction, Parker, is Petey, as part of his year-end availability. They asked him. They almost made a presumption that his slow start had to do with his wrist, and to his credit, he said, "Nope, I was perfectly fine. It was the weight of the contract, the weight of the whole, not the holdout, but the negotiations, and how he came in almost behind and how he had to catch up." He said that was the reason why he had such a, and of course, Travis Green's system, but that was the reason why he had such a poor start to the season. So he said, I can't blame the wrist. It wasn't the wrist. He was fully healthy. At least that's what he said.
Yeah, and I mean, sports in general are a very mental game, right?
Yeah.
Pedersen knows how to do all of these things, right? Just like how NFL kickers know how to kick a ball through the uprights. But suddenly
Yeah.
you see guys go on a run where they miss 4 30-yard field goals in a row
Yeah.
because they're in their own head, right? There's something wrong mentally that is preventing them from doing the things that they are capable of doing. Um, and again, I bring this up as a beer league hockey player, someone who plays recreationally. I will get in my head too. Especially, I'll go play for a new team, and I'll be like, man, I want to, I want these guys to like me. I want to impress these guys.
Yeah.
Maybe I got oversold as a sub. Someone's like, hey, this guy will come. He'll be great for you guys. And I'm like, man, if I don't do this and this and this, so they're gonna think that they're gonna think I suck or whatever. And you get in your own head. And for a guy like Elias Pettersson, who basically got dragged through the mud a little bit because of how long the contract negotiations take, which is partially him and his agent's fault, also
Yep.
partially Jim Benning's fault at the same time, and it was entirely within his right to do so. But now you have all of these articles and all these people talking about, you're like, wow, skipping parts of training camp. Clearly he doesn't care. He's not here to win, just a bridge deal, blah, blah,
That's
blah.
right.
And now he's thinking, okay, I have to be perfect, right? I have to go put up 110 points this year. Otherwise, they're going to run me out of town, right? And you're going to have people like Andrew Walker saying I should be playing in the AHL. And, that gets in your head. And then he comes out and still puts up 70 points.
Yeah.
And so clearly he's got the skill. he turned it around just like I said he would all year.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I think to say that is not something that you would have seen 10 years ago in the NHL, I don't think, right? I
Yeah.
think it's the focus has gone from this being, tough guy sport where, you're going to get 6 concussions and you're going to live with it and whatever, right? You're there to make your money, score goals, and that's it. These people are people, right? And I
Mhm.
think the fact that they're willing to speak up about this stuff, I think it shows a lot about who they are,
Yeah.
and it's fair. Yeah, I played bad because I was in my own head because I was stressed about this, and this. Yeah, people deal
Yeah.
with stress all the time, every day,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
impacts how they live their lives and do their jobs and everything like that. So
Yes.
to imagine that these NHL players who have the weight of entire cities on them are going to be any different is crazy.
And don't you remember Parker back in August? Because I remember we talked about this on one of our shows that he did that interview with that Swedish newspaper and was
Yeah.
talking about how he said he just wants to win. I want to go somewhere. I want to be somewhere where they're going to win. And then this was when he hadn't signed the contract yet. And he's like, well, why don't you sign here and win here? Da da da. And yeah, so it kind of speaks to the pressure. He's probably getting it from all sides. And he just said it was a mental thing more than a physical thing. And so I really appreciate his candor actually and his honesty.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Oh, by the way, you said that you're a beer league and you don't want to be upsold or whatever. Do you want to play for our team tomorrow night at 11 p.m.?
Is it ice? No, ball
Roller.
hockey.
No, roller.
I've been on rollerblades twice in my life.
Oh, okay. I think you still be better than me.
Maybe not. I don't know how to stop
Okay,
on
next time.
rollerblades. I'll tell you that. I've my 2 rollerblading experiences. I've felt the wall a few times.
And I can't believe who schedules a game at 11 p.m. like this. I won't wake up till Thursday. This is ridiculous.
And that's bowling night. You can't do that on a Tuesday.
Well, I'm getting double at softball tonight, and tomorrow I'm going double duty, bowling, and then straight to the rink. I'm going to be toast on Wednesday. Thank God we don't have a show. Yeah,
love it. All right. That's our sort of Canucks segment, and we'll get if you guys want to, if you have questions for us on Canucks stuff, hold it for the next like 17 minutes or so. We're gonna quick hit our predictions for each series, so we have it in writing. We'll do this again after the first round, wherever we're at. Should we have some sort of scoring? Now, I had made my selections prior to all of the games today.
Me too. I was just going to say, me too.
Changing them.
Me too. And
good,
yes,
I'll be
I'll
way
play
too confusing if I had different brackets for different people.
No, I will play fair as well.
Okay. Do we want some sort of scoring system to make this a competition, or how do you want to do it?
Yeah, we can do something fun. Why don't we just? Who cares what number of games, right? That doesn't matter. Let's just go.
I do.
Okay, you obviously do.
Why don't you just do like, you get 3 points if you get the winner right, and then an extra point if you get the games right.
Okay. And are we doing first round, or are we doing our whole bracket?
I'm just doing first round.
Okay. Then that's fair.
That's fair.
Did. And we're not changing number of games even based on what happened tonight, right?
Correct. Mine's all written down already. All right, Boston. Okay. I have the list. Boston, Carolina should be a pretty fun one. We're obviously both rooting for Carolina, I think, is the safe bet. What was your pick?
And I people will know I'm not lying because I made these on my Sunday night stream. So I said Carolina in 7. I think they've had playoff history. Boston's got a lot of good veterans. So I'm going Carolina in 7.
I also have Carolina in 7. They crushed the Bruins tonight. 5 goals, 5-1 win. Antti Ranta making 35 saves. Yeah, so this one's looking off to a good start. And again, I think Boston's one of those teams that's, they were lower in the standings, but it's Boston, right? It's a team that's done playoff stuff before, which is why, we might lean a little. That's why we're saying 7 and not 5. And also I expected more from Carolina in the playoffs last year, and they kind of let me down there. So
totally fair. And I love what NHL Canucks, and although he went out of order, Lawrence Dexter. Yeah, as we give ours, you give yours. So we see a Carolina in 6 and we see a Bruins in 7. Interesting. But yeah, as we go
Very,
series to series, type it in there. We want to read it and we want to see it for sure.
for sure. All right. Number 2,
Okay.
Tampa Bay, Toronto.
Oh.
Toronto comes out again. This isn't
Oh.
influencing our decision. We've already written it down, locked it in.
Yeah.
Toronto comes out with a 5-0 rout of the Tampa Bay Lightning. And can I say, wow, they looked good. That 5-minute penalty kill.
Yep.
Did you watch this? Did you watch
No,
this
I
game?
heard about it. I heard about it.
This 5-minute penalty kill, they had like 4 2-on-1s on the penalty kill. They were phenomenal. They destroyed the Lightning. I had Toronto in 6.
Well, I had the same number of games, partner, but the other team. So I don't know how they can do this. They got to win 4 of the next 5, but I have Tampa in 6.
Yeah, I think people are so on the, Toronto can't get out of the first round. And you know what? If that happens again, then I will enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I think they just have a really good team.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm a little worried about is the goaltending matchup. Vasilevsky's so good. Campbell has been on and off, very on at the beginning, very off for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
But I mean, they just have so much offensive prowess. The fear here is with how big of a blowout this game that Tampa Bay just changes everything and adjusts and is crazy the rest of the way through, which I think is very possible. But yeah, I mean, it was a dominant performance from Toronto today.
So I'm hoping that we differ on one other series. Otherwise, I'm hooped. I think. Like, can you imagine if the rest of them are the same? So we're only differing in one. Then I'd have to win like 4 games played guesses.
Well, I made my picks very quickly. I spent
Okay.
about 5 minutes on it. It was just all instinct, no research. So we'll probably differ a little bit. Washington, Florida, the 1 seed. Washington sneaking in wild card 2.
Yep.
This series kicks off tomorrow at 4:30. Who do you got?
Okay, I guess I get to go first in this one. I have the Panthers in 5.
Same.
Oh no!
Exactly the same.
I'm running out of chances to differentiate. This is not good.
Next one on our board: Pittsburgh and the New York Rangers. This was a little tricky. Rangers finishing second in their division, Pittsburgh finishing third, but Pittsburgh's got that playoff prowess to them. But the Rangers have Shesterkin. I've got the Penguins in 7.
Oh, so I'm with you. Even though is DeSmith starting? Like Jari's out for at least 2 games, right? Which is
is he? I had no idea. Again, I did no research. Nothing.
Me too. I found that out. Guys were telling me my stream after I made my pick, so I do have Penguins as well. But I said 6 Penguins in 6.
We got lots of Rangers in here.
Yeah.
We got lots of Rangers in 7. Nathaniel going with the Rangers in 5. A few Penguins, 1 in 6 there. Lawrence in 7. So people sentiment here is a longer series. The lowest we see is a 5 from Nathaniel. Everyone else is 6 or 7, which I hope. Honestly, these ones that I have no skin in the game. I don't care who wins this series. I want to see 6 or 7 games though, because there's nothing like Game 7 hockey, right? So I'm all in for entertainment factor.
And the Rangers, they have a couple of veterans like Kreider, but they have a lot of young players. Where I think Pittsburgh to me reminds me of Boston, not just because they wear the same colors, but the veterans like the Crosbys and the Malkins and Letangs. So they got to make up for that goaltending difference in their experience. So that's interesting that we both said Pittsburgh. So let's wrap up the East. You have actually, do you have it written down, or do you have it in memory or kind of thing?
I've got all mine written down.
Okay. So let's wrap up the East real quick. We agree on Carolina in 7.
Yep.
You have Toronto in 6. I have Tampa in 6.
Yep.
I have Florida in 5. You have Florida in
5.
Oh, dang. And then the one we just said, you have Pittsburgh in 7. I have Pittsburgh in 6.
Perfect.
So we differ in one team. Yes.
So that takes us to the Western Conference.
Yep.
Let's start off Predators and Avalanche. Colorado finishing well atop the standings. with a nice, or at least in the West, with a 119. Nashville sneaking into that second wild card spot with 97 points. Goal
Wow.
differential, Colorado was a plus 78 this year. Nashville was a plus 14. So that, tells you the story a little bit. Also, Colorado, who has home ice advantage, is 32-5-4 on home ice this year at Ball Arena. So everything points to Colorado here. Now, who did you pick?
Is it true that Nashville beat Colorado in the regular season? That's what someone told me. Like, not only beat them, but swept them. I don't know.
Let's see. Of course, I searched for it and it doesn't tell me. Predators beat the Avalanche 5-4 in overtime. No, the Avalanche beat the Predators on November 21st, or November 20 something. November 27th. They beat them. Avalanche beat them 6-2.
Oh, okay. Okay, doesn't matter. I love this Yossi versus Makar matchup. Then you have Saros against Kemper, and then of course all of the Colorado forwards against some decent ones from Nashville. But I have the Avs in 5.
Yeah, I think that's a smart bet. I don't know why I put them in 4 because they're that much better. Sweeps are so rare though and risky. There's every chance this goes 6, right? Like I don't think it's that crazy. I went 4 just because it's fun. And aggressive. Speaking of fun and aggressive, Calgary and Dallas. Another one that Calgary is a heavy favorite by every metric. Again, Dallas sort of fumbling their way into the playoffs, just sneaking in under the gun. A -8 goal differential on the year, while Calgary was a +85. Calgary has shown that they are just an extremely strong, stout team. The third lowest goals against in the NHL at just 208. Looks like their goals for was 6th best. So, second best goal differential in the league. They've got fantastic goaltending and Jacob Markstrom. They're just so much better built than Dallas is. And I also have them taking it in 4.
Wow. I love your boldness. You have the 2 Western Conference division winners sweeping. I love it. Well, I am like Coach Rob, Top Shelf, Just Incredible, Bruce, Lawrence. I am saying Flames in 5. I must like this 5. I'm not gutsy enough to pick a sweep. So
yeah, lots of Flames in 5s. Dexter has the Flames in 4.
Okay, he's with you.
But that's about it.
Matt Go has Dallas in 4.
I think some people have been saying the opposite in 4.
I see.
Fun.
Okay, gotcha.
So we've both got the Avalanche and the Flames. The odds of those going the other way are pretty slim. I think if I remember correctly, I saw the Athletics model, and I don't have it open, unfortunately. But it was a bit of a blowout on those. I want to see if I can pull that up quickly.
Sure.
Because I do want those odds. Maybe we'll grab those after.
Okay.
So next up is the Blues and the Wild. Now this one kicked off today. St. Louis, a 4-0 win over the Minnesota Wild, stealing home ice advantage basically from that.
Was it Binnington or Husso?
I think it was Husso.
Oh.
I'm like 90% sure. Yes, Husso gets the shutout. 37 saves.
Oh. Okay. I like Minnesota a lot more than I like St. Louis. I can't stand Binnington, although I don't mind guys like O'Reilly. I know Dexter hates David Perron, but that's another thing. I love Kaprizov. I like Fiala. So despite today, obviously we're not cheating. I have Minnesota in 7.
I had Minnesota in 6. Obviously a little scary with St. Louis, one of the first one. I just think Minnesota is the better team, not by a lot. And again, St. Louis has that pedigree, right? They've been there before. They won the Stanley Cup 2019. They got crushed by the Canucks in 2020. They're a good team. I just think the Wild are slightly better. And I hope that they pull it out. I would rather Minnesota pull it out. Kaprizov is such a good player. Just fun to watch. I don't. St. Louis just doesn't have those fun to watch factor for me.
No,
They don't have.
Although with Kyrou and Thomas, they're at least they have a couple exciting guys.
Yeah, and
you're right. They got a lot of this big body just grind you down,
and Minnesota has consistently historically been one of the most boring teams in NHL. Right?
That's true.
But now they've got this one player who's setting franchise records for them and is absolutely so fun to watch. So hopefully, I'm hoping they move on. And our last series is the Kings and the Oilers. Now I do have the Athletics odds up now.
Okay.
Their classic odds have this one is the tightest series by their model. LA 51% chance to win over the Oilers 49. So as close to a coin flip as you can get. Tonight's game was as close to a coin flip as you can get. LA taking it 4-3 with a late one. Obviously that's not coming into account with our pick here.
Yeah.
What did you take for this one?
Okay, I have to explain myself here. Well, I'll say I have Edmonton in 6. In all my pools, I was going Kings over Edmonton. Then I thought, is this the year where Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, is this the year McDavid just puts the team on his back despite their crappy goaltending? They're fine on defense with Nurse and those guys. They're fine with, they got Evander Kane now and Hyman. So I basically thought that they could do it this year. So I kind of overthunk myself, but maybe. And it's just one game. So I do have on my sheet, without cheating, I do have the Oilers in 6, even though I have 2 more hockey pools to do. And I think I may go Kings. But yeah, I have Oilers in 6.
I also have the Oilers in 6.
Oh!
I'm not a believer in LA here.
Yeah.
Edmonton really turned things around, the latter half of the year. They were great. McDavid is, again, it's a factor, right? It's a guy who can turn a game around in a moment's notice. I mean, he scored a beautiful goal. The Oilers' first goal tonight was a nice goal by McDavid. It's a big factor. Now, again, they'd have to win 4 of the next 5 for my prediction to come true.
Right.
But they could have won this game. It wasn't that.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't that LA dominated them or anything. I mean, shots in this one were 39-35 in favor of Edmonton. Edmonton got so close to tying it at the end. They were dominating for the last 2 minutes, couldn't get anything to go. This thing could go either way. And I think, again, it should be exciting. Hopefully it's one that goes long.
Yeah.
Even though we picked it in 6, I'd love to see it go 7.
And of course, people would love to see the Battle of Alberta in the second round. People would love to see Florida and Tampa go at it, although Florida-Toronto would be a pretty sweet series as well. So we both agree on Colorado, Calgary, Minnesota, and Edmonton. However, there could be a game discrepancy because you have sweeps for Colorado and Calgary. I have 5s for that. I have Minnesota 7. You have Minnesota 6. Is that correct?
Minnesota 6. Yep.
Yeah. And then we both have Edmonton 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the athletic odds, just for fun.
Yeah.
Back onto the east side. Florida, Washington, they have Florida at 84% chance. Toronto, Tampa, and Dom Lucian has said that he is nervous about this one, has Toronto at 77%. Now,
high.
keep in mind, Toronto's really good.
Yeah.
Right. If it wasn't Toronto, if it was 2 teams, look at these 2 teams, look at their players, look at their standings positions, and you don't take into effect that Toronto hasn't won a series since 2004, then you would give them that. I think it's pretty fair.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh 56% over the Rangers 44. Carolina 66% over the Boston 34. On the West, you get Colorado. What do you think the Colorado-Nashville percent is?
The way you asked me, but 91.
93.7. It is. His model has a 53% chance of Colorado making it to the Cup final.
Wow.
Which is crazy. It's just because their only real, their only super tough opponent ahead is really Calgary, right? That's the only team that looks like they'll compete. Now, again, it's the playoffs, anything can happen. They could fall apart, injuries, all that stuff. But they're heavily favored. Minnesota, St. Louis, 54% Minnesota. I'm sure again that changes with St. Louis winning, but going into it.
Wow.
Oilers in LA, like I said, pure coin flip 51-49. And Calgary, Dallas, they have Calgary at 76 to Dallas's 24.
What was the biggest one in the East again, Parker? The biggest discrepancy?
Biggest one in the East was Florida 84 over the
Okay.
Washington 16.
Okay, so you got a 93 in Colorado and 84 in Florida. Those are the two conference winners. Okay.
Again,
so
I don't have any rooting interest in any of these teams except I'm anti-Boston.
Yes.
And
So,
honestly,
interesting.
even
We
if
are
Toronto
only
does well,
differ on
I'm
the
fine.
one. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, we only differ on that one, Toronto versus Tampa. And if you do get Toronto, I may have to make up a couple points on games. But yes, 3 points for the right team, 1 point, and then we'll do this all again in 2 weeks for the second round. It's very cool. Very cool.
Awesome.
And then maybe we'll let the viewers, not today necessarily, but we'll let them choose kind of like a punishment or reward, however they want to frame it.
Perfect. Lots of comment engagement from these, which is awesome.
Yeah.
All right. What else do we have? I think that we're at the 10:50 mark, so we can take some viewer questions on whatever you want, whether it's on the Canucks and what you think this offseason is going to bring, whether it's on the playoffs and who you think is going to win the Stanley Cup or win each series or whatever questions you guys have for us. Now is the time to ask those, and we'll answer a handful of them.
Lawrence. If Clay wins, Parker plays net and ball hockey. Well, I play roller hockey, but we could use Parker. No, we have two good goalies, but we could use Parker.
You got any hard shooters out there?
Yeah, there's some good ones.
You got good goalie pads?
We'll find you some.
No, I'm good. I'm fine.
Okay.
Dexter.
I think you meant to say Dolly. I don't know who Donnie and Daka is.
That's some good autocorrect, I'm sure. I don't watch. I don't know. I don't watch anything Donnie and Dolly. My only Canucks listening of any sort is sometimes I listen to the 1 hour condensed version of Halford and Bruff on the podcast side, where they just take the best 60 minutes basically, because that's all I really have time for.
Right.
Especially now, I'm not gonna be watching Donnie and Dolly on a Thursday at the end of May, right?
Yeah.
But we expect you guys to be here every Monday night in August.
It's funny how that works. Yeah. I will catch Halford and Bruff live when I'm driving to work. I will once in a while catch a Donnie and Dolly interview if I really want to see it, and I will catch a Sakaris and Price interview on YouTube as well if I want to see it. And then when I go on my walks, I will listen to the Vancast. So yeah,
fair enough. Lucas asking if we're going to follow the Outside Canucks playoff run. I'll follow it. I don't know if I'm going to be, if I get given some tickets to it, because I know some people that have season tickets there, then I'll go. But I'm not like planning on really, unless if they make it to the finals, then maybe I'll go to a couple games. But I think, I'll sort of just casually follow it online.
And how about for your channel?
I got nothing planned. Sure, we'll talk about it here a bit.
Yeah, ditto for sure. Nathaniel, yes, we did touch on the Boeser situation. So we won't want to rehash it out of respect for everyone that heard us already. But if you go back to about the 20-minute mark, ish, we have a good 5 to 7 minute chat about it. So, but thank you for asking.
Yeah. And if you want to do that on the podcast side, because that helps us too. And it's up about 50 and 30 minutes after. And you can give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. That'd be cool as well.
Can you do Marjorie's from 1051? Actually, not that recent one, but from 1051, where she says, "Will Bruce get a new contract?" Well, he did meet with the media today, and he did say that he wants to be here. He did say that he thinks the team wants him to stay. We know that he's got basically this option for next year. The club has an option. He has an option. What do you think happens, Parker, with this?
I think they get it done, and I think they get it done soon. I don't know what key dates are. Really, I haven't paid attention to any of it. I haven't listened to anything Canucks related or followed anything. I just think it's in everyone's best interest to knock this thing out of just get it out of the way. It's a formality. get it done,
Yeah.
and then you can focus
Yeah.
on the other stuff. So
Yeah.
I say they get it done before our next episode, and I get an extra day there.
We do. Yeah. And we'll talk about that. Yeah. No, great point. Boudreau did say he's flying home, I guess, I presume back east on Wednesday, but obviously that doesn't mean they can't talk, through agents, through Zoom or whatever cool people do these days. But I agree with you, Parker. Not much for me to add. I think he does a new contract. It's not just a year. I think it's an extension to a total of 2 or 3 years. Otherwise, you don't want him going year to year. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Lucas, thank you for the donation. Says, Parker, do you plan to get back on the Twitch stream this summer?
Maybe. I'm very non-committal. I don't
even know what Twitch. Tell me what a Twitch. I don't even know what a Twitch. I'm so not cool. What's a Twitch stream?
It's just a live stream similar to what you do, but it's usually more game focused. You're usually
playing something.
Usually, you don't have to be.
Okay.
It's just less formal.
Yeah.
I think the idea of streaming stuff like that is more appealing to me than actually doing it. So I always hype myself up. I do it. I'm like, wow, that was underwhelming. And then I don't do it again for a few months. So the answer is I probably will twice. And that's going to be my bet. But we'll see.
Charm's just comparing your Twitch streaming to my ping pong live streaming. That's fair. Marjorie's asking, can you live stream some marbles matches?
I'll consider it. I think maybe around draft lottery, things like that. Because I don't think the Canucks are going to be that involved, but we can make something out of it. So definitely something we could do.
I never do well in those marbles. I come to support Parker, but my marble, he barely makes it on the second turn.
It's because I rig it to make sure that you fall off the map every time. Which I wish I could do.
Yes, that would be fun.
I can't. Man, lots of just like not Canucks related questions. Oh, we have one from Nathaniel. We'll touch on this quickly because I think we've touched on it a little bit, but just in general, are the Canucks a playoff team next year? That's the part of this we're going to take. I say barely.
Yeah, I say yes. I won't qualify it with barely. I say yes.
What's your point total prediction if you had to give one right now?
98.
I had 99.
So it's funny. And then it's funny how you frame it as barely. I'm like so confident, and yet you gave it a higher point total because you're right. It took 97 to get in this year. Yeah.
Yeah, it took 97. And I think 99, I'm not saying it's 99 or more.
Yeah.
I'm saying 99, like plus or minus 4.
Yeah.
Which can get you out of it. And I think that's a pretty barely side to me.
But the key takeaway is we both think that the Canucks will make it. But I think didn't both of us think they'd make them this year too?
Oh, and we thought lots of guys would be getting lots of points too. And I think we have to pull that out. I haven't done any prep on it, so I can't just like pull it up. I got to do all the math and see.
That's
the
middle of the summer, nothing happening.
Well, I don't know. We can't put it off too long because there's people waiting to see if they've won, and I'm curious because I want to see if I beat you. And I still don't think we set stakes for it, which is good because we don't know who won.
That's true.
So we still can.
Okay, that's something we can milk a little bit for a couple shows. Okay, good idea.
All right. Coach Rob asking if we're going to do any draft previews after the playoffs. Maybe. It gets tricky.
Nothing.
Yeah, it's something that we start researching about 6 days before the draft. It's trickier when the Canucks were in that sort of like 3 to 8 range is where they were expected to be.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier.
That was fun.
Yeah. But when the team's picking like 15th or 16th or wherever they end up being, it's a lot tougher because there's just so many more prospects, right? Some guys might fall, right? When like the Quinn Hughes draft, when we're at 7 and that's where we are, it's easy to sort of get a range of the top 10 and sort of pick up where you are. But you get to 15, 16. Now you have to do the top 20, and the odds are they pick someone you've never heard of anyways, because probably the 23rd guy. So maybe if they win the draft lottery, then sure. But again, 0.5% of that happening. So
such a good point, Parker, because remember before the Canucks traded away that pick for Ekman Larson and Garland, we actually learned about guys like Brant Clark who might get picked around 9, or Dylan Gunther who actually did, and then it was all or not.
Yeah, no,
Well,
it's
for the Canucks, for the Canucks, yeah.
yeah, and 9 was pushing it. 9 was getting pretty deep.
For
15 is
us,
going to be
for
really
us,
hard for us to talk
yeah.
about.
Peter, you can put Peter's up because he has to be on my stream, and I love your opinion.
10:58.
Yes, go ahead and read it.
If we're going, okay, so yeah, do you think Clay looks low key
There.
like an Asian Bruce Boudreau? Um, I think it's just because round-ish head shape and not a lot of hair. If that's where you're going,
Positivity.
yeah, no, I think you've got him beat. I don't know. I think that's really it. I don't know. I think the positivity for sure.
Yeah,
Isn't his hair like more on the
it's more or
sides?
less basically.
Yeah, he's got way more recession.
Yeah, and he's a tiny. I'm big, but he's a tiny bit bigger than me for
Yeah,
sure.
not. I wouldn't even say a tiny bit. I'd
Okay, thank you.
give
You're
yourself a bit of credit. Okay.
that's why you're one of my best friends. Thank you.
Uh,
Oh, that's funny. That's good. That's good.
Any other ones you want to take it? Lucas, one of the two.
Oh,
Thank you very much, Lucas. Saying P just Insta story left
oh,
town. Yeah, I saw.
makes
I think so. I saw someone earlier in the chat being like, "Oh, look at Petey leaving like day after his obligations are done." Yeah,
sense. Yeah, I
yeah.
would too.
When I go, if I have like a summer vacation planned, and let's say I have 2 months off. I'm not gonna leave a weekend if I'm going to Mexico for 2 months, or if I'm going to
Yeah,
visit family for 2 months. I'm going the first day I can.
yeah,
He can afford to pay a little bit extra on a shorter notice flight, I'm sure.
yes,
Um, his this isn't his home.
yeah,
It's his home for most of the year, but he's got family that he wants to go visit.
absolutely.
Or if he wants to go party in New York City or whatever he wants to do, I don't know where he's going.
Yeah,
Yeah, more power to him. Why wouldn't you? He's a guy making $7.5 million
so
US a year.
pretty good.
Yeah,
Edmund, last one, 10:58. Edmund, you guys think Martin will be the backup next year? He's injured. Yes, that's why
100%.
Edmund that he got that 2 million. That 2 year contract. I think Parker and I both agree that they're not just going to hand it to him, but he's basically the guy in waiting. They'll bring in DiPietro. They'll bring another veteran goalie on a cheap or a PTO because you need that competition. You need to fill out your Abbotsford roster. But Spencer Martin, you can tell he's being groomed to be the backup for the next 2 years for sure.
Yep. No, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you have a guy who had put up a 950 in 6 games and didn't lose on a regulation. Pretty
Mhm.
good. But I mean, if you brought someone in a PTO and they did that in the preseason, you'd be like, "Oh, that's good. That's really good. We want this guy."
Yeah.
Do that in the regular season in his first real NHL action in years is awesome, and he's gonna get a chance to go on a little run here, hopefully for Abbotsford.
Yeah.
Um, and hopefully he can do something good with that. So yeah, I think it's a no-brainer.
Awesome.
All
You
right.
want to tell them about next week?
Next week, Tuesday, not Monday. There's your heads up. Clay it's not my fault this time, which is a rarity. It's Clay's
Yeah.
fault. So
Yeah. My
direct
fault.
all of your hate mail to Clay. Yeah, no, I think he's got, what do you got? You got hockey? or something?
Roller hockey. And of
Roller
course,
hockey.
then we move to Tuesday. It's going to be the one Tuesday. Actually, it's more than one where I play against the slowest guy in the league. But yes, Tuesday at 10. That's the plan.
Tuesday at 10. Dexter says he'll be at soccer until 10. Well, that's a good for the ride home. The drive
Yeah.
home, have the audio only. Don't be watching
Yeah.
us while you drive, please. But you can listen, or it's on YouTube. You can just scroll. You show up 10 minutes late, you just scroll back to the beginning. It's great. Or you listen to
Yeah.
the podcast the next day.
And
so
we could offer Parker to go solo on Monday, but I think too many people would want that. So that would be sad for me. So
that
we'll
would
go
be
Tuesday with
also,
both of us.
I can't talk for an hour about nothing. Again, we're gonna have less Canucks news next week than this week, probably. Unless
Yeah.
Bruce Boudreau, but again, that's one thing, right? Oh yeah, he's a good coach, and they won a lot of games with him. Good thing they still have him. All right, next, right? Like that's that's all we can do. So yeah, no, we'll do it Tuesday night. So 8 days from now, make sure you're subscribed and have the bell hit so it tells you when that happens. Because if you don't, then you'll miss it and you'll be sad like Dexter.
Yes.
Dexter just says he lives 2 minutes away, so you're gonna be 2 minutes late Then why
Maybe
bring
once
it up?
Maybe he wants to shower after a soccer practice because he's so good. He has to shower first.
If only there was a way to play audio from your phone.
When you're
I don't
showering?
know.
Okay.
You can put it on the counter.
That's true.
Turn
Just don't
the
electrocute yourself,
volume
Dexter.
up.
Yeah.
You know,
Don't hurt yourself, Dexter. That's all we care about.
don't drop your phone in the shower. And then break it. Water gets in. You can't. Anyways, do we want to wrap up here? Is that all we had?
That was fun, and we actually, you know how we usually hit our sweet spot of 64 minutes. I think we're at what are we at 65?
65. We might hit 66, 67 even.
Wow.
I got so much. I got all this stuff I got to say at the end.
Yeah, and no Manscaped read though, right?
No, unfortunately not. I think the 0 that we sold didn't do well for the renewal, but that's okay because it was fun. With that, we're gonna wrap up. If you missed any part of the show, like we said, and again, we know some of you did because we see that the graph goes up over time. Feel free to rewind to the beginning, or if it's too late and you want to watch it tomorrow, like save it to your watch later or something on YouTube. Or you can find the podcast on your favorite podcast platform, Apple, Google, Spotify, all of them. Just search Canucks After Dark. It's also linked in the description. Also, if you're listening on Apple, give us 5 stars because that helps us out a lot. There's a bunch of honking outside Monday night. Yeah, that's kind of it. Clay, any parting words for the night?
No, this was a lot of fun, Parker. I think we're going to have to rely on a bit of creativity, a bit of outside the box thinking, and admitting that we just got to follow some other teams for the next 2 months. But yeah, let's look forward to some Canucks off-season news, and we'll react to it as best we can. But no, this was a lot of fun, and I really think the viewers came up big with their comments and their questions, and just engaging with our playoff predictions as well. It was a good show overall, so thank you.
Yeah, keep this show in mind when in early August when we're pulling out our stand-up routines to try to fill an hour, because it's going to be it's going to get worse. But we hope you guys stick with us for the entire summer because we'll make it fun, especially with you guys here. Thank you guys all for hanging out with us for the last 67 minutes. I'm going to stall until we hit 68, which is another 20 seconds. So Clay, any parting words for the second time?
Yeah, I'm really excited about the Canucks offseason. The 2 things, double B, Bruce Boudreau contract, Brock Boeser contract. How's that? We're close now.
I love it. We got 3 seconds to go. Thank you guys very much. Have a good night.